So music has always been a part of my family. It's always been a part of my household. So first and foremost, my dad is a singer and drummer. My older brother grew up singing. Now he's a rapper. He still does a little bit of singing. So it's just been around me naturally. So my household consisted of Soul for Real and Drew Hill and Boyz II Men, Patti LaBelle, Jackson 5, Michael Jackson. So just good music growing up. Around 7, my family, we joined the church. And I was in the kids choir and I was also in the men's choir. So again, just more singing, even though at the time I was actually into computers. But it wasn't until middle school, 7th grade, I tried out for my first talent show and I sang and I had such a great reaction to singing. And I've never had that reaction before. I never felt the way I felt before being on stage outside of church because church was a little different. I feel like singing in church, I was a little bit more introverted, but outside of the church, I could really perform how I wanted to perform. So again, just receiving such a good reaction, being on stage, I felt like I could do this for the rest of my life. I knew I had a beautiful voice, but I also knew that I needed a lot of work. So the two people that I studied heavily was Stevie Wonder and Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross taught me how to control my voice, and Stevie Wonder taught me how to let go. And those were two important things that I needed as a middle schooler, somebody with little experience in life, but I needed that soul and I needed that technique, and they both gave those things to me. So high school again, all talent shows, showcases I could perform in the area. I did. Went on to college. I studied music there at Towson University. Studied both classical and jazz music, jazz performance. Um, I put in my 10,000 hours. I would stay in the practice rooms hours upon hours studying, trying new techniques. Like I wasn't a good runner back in the day, but now I can do runs. You know what I'm saying? I always was good with holding notes, belting, but there were certain parts of my voice that I was discovering. So I really put in that time because I was just, honestly, I was just fascinated with music and how music can touch people. So and even now, like I'm in my 30s, like I still feel like music really touches people in a way that nothing else can, and that's why I do what I do. So yeah. Ooh, I love this question. So I always talk about my experience sharing the stage with Dave Chappelle, um, mainly because I never really got to at the time, I never got to like hang with the celebrities. I got to hang with Dave Chappelle. He invited me to the second night of the show to sing again, which was dope in itself. But yeah, I got to hang with him in this green room. I got to smoke with him. He called me up on stage like 4 different times to like crack jokes on me. It was cool, like light jokes, light jokes. He didn't burn me up, thankfully. But it was like the coolest experience at the time. But the most memorable experience and the one that was most I guess kind of fulfilling. I had opened up for Molly Music, and that was really my most memorable experience. And the reason being is because we had talked before the show, and then we talked right after I had performed, and then he went up on stage and he really like gave me my props for performing it. Cause listen, I did kill it. I think I killed it that night. But he gave me my props and he gave me some words of encouragement too. And I just never had an artist bigger than me do that for me. Or I don't think he did it for me. I think he just did it like just because, like, that's what decent people do. Honestly, that's how I feel. Decent people, they bring other people up. That's dope. And he did that for me in that moment. And I so appreciated that. Not I will never forget that. So that is definitely one of my more memorable moments being in the industry. And And people always say we look alike, and we actually got to take a picture to show people, okay, maybe we can be cousins, but we don't look that much alike. We're just dark skinned with some nice beards, okay? But all good. That's my cousin though. That's my cousin from Philly. So I create in a number of different ways. Uh, Sometimes it can be as simple as hearing a melody or hearing the chords in my head, and a lot of times I'll go to a keyboard or piano and I will play out what's in my head, and then from there, once I play it out, then the melody comes a little bit more apparent. So I'll play around with some melodies, and then the lyrics come. Once I really like set in on the sound, set in on the chords, and then it all just kind of comes. I can't. Sometimes I can't explain it. Sometimes instead of getting the chorus first, I'll get the melody first, or sometimes I might be inspired by something. Like this is super random. Like you know how you have a pilot on the stove and you click that pilot and that pilot clicks. So I may come up with something off of that. So it just depends on my mood, my vibe. But again, it's just a number of ways that I can come up with something. If, for example, I'm working with my producer, Mental Kryptonite, if he comes up with a progression, I can come up with something. Or if he plays me a beat, I'll hum out the melody, and then I may ask him a few questions. Or if there's another writer in the room, or just another person in the room, I'll ask him, "What are you feeling? What are you going through?" And that kind of helps my writer's part of my brain to come up with something, you know. Um, so again, it just depends. It literally can be the wind blowing, and I can hear a note in the wind and be like, "Okay, that note will go with this chord and these chords, and I can make this part major or minor, or I could borrow these chords from this over here." It's honestly, I allow myself to be endless with it, but a lot of times I get inspired not by sitting down. It's like on the go, which is the most frustrating part because you may sing it into your I may sing into my voice notes, and then later on it just won't feel the same. But there have been times where it's just a strong feeling, and sometimes I don't need a voice note. I'll just know to go back to it later and just start plucking it out. So yeah, for me, it's just one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. No set way. So first, I met Mental Kryptonite through something called Afro House, which is a collective of musicians. I used to be a part of it. We used to do these shows like bi-weekly, and he would partner with us as a keyboardist, somebody who was a part of the band, the live music. And he had asked me at the time to host a show called The Pocket downtown LA. I was a host for a year, and then he played with me with my residency at the W, and then we also had another residency coming up. But because of the pandemic, we had stopped performing live. So in that time, I said, "Yo, bro, let's just work on some music for live shows, specifically for live shows. So we have live music catered to live shows." Um, so we started working on some music, and everything got shut down because of the pandemic. And I'm just like, look, let's work let's possibly work up to an album or EP. So we came up with like 34, maybe 5 songs, all cool songs. But it wasn't until we created the song Magic, um, where I was like, okay, I think we may have something that is worth putting out. So how Magic came about, um, Mental Kryptonite and I, we used to link up once a week at least once a week to work on music. And this particular night, he's banging out some progressions, and I hear something. I hear a part of the progression that's like really dope. So I'm like, hey, play that again. So he plays it again. We tailor it down. He starts building the beat. And all I could think in my head from him playing this progression was, show up the way you want me. Yeah, you got me spellbound. Ooh, that was a little messy, but that just kept on coming in my head. And I'm like, okay, this song is going to be about magic and how I could tie what it is to be majestic and sex. How can I tie the two together? So I put out a thesaurus and some dictionaries, and I just used the words associated with magic, the words associated with majestic, and I took my time to write out the verse for the song. And then that was that night. He gave me some time to work on it for myself, as he did with the beat. And I came up with the harmonies for the song. Got them solid. I changed up the melody just a little bit. He adds a bass line that was incredible, and he figures out some drums. We put it together. So that's literally the first song. We went in for another night to work on this song specifically. We had a few songs that we were working on at the time, just trying to figure out. But another night we had come together to work on Magic, continue working on it. But it was not trying to load up. And mind you, we're almost done the song. But since it wasn't loading up, we started banging out a whole new progression for a whole new song. And again, my ears just be scanning, and my ears knows. When it knows, it knows. So again, I hear a progression again, and we pull it out, we tailor it out. I'm suggesting different instrumentations or sounds of different instrumentations, but law is a man when it comes to taking the sounds or manipulating the sounds. So, in like 30 to an hour, we have a beat. So I like to mention that Mental Kryptonite is vegan. I don't know many vegan men. So whenever he would come over, I love to eat. I'm a foodie. I'm not vegan, but it's a challenge for me. I always try to make something vegan. So as he's working on the beat, I'm in the kitchen, and I hear in my head the melody, "Come on, baby, don't you cry. I'm gonna try up all your eye." So I'm just thinking about it in my head as I'm cooking, and I'm like, as soon as I sit down, I know exactly what I'm gonna write. So 30 minutes of cooking, I sit down, I write it out. He's just about done the track. We record it right then and there. We record the melody, and then we meet together for the second time, only the second time, and I redo the harmonies, because I think I did them the first time around, but the second time around, they just needed to be better. So Want You Around was then created. It literally only took about 3 hours and a slight second session to come down with Want You Around. So now we have two songs. We have Magic and we have Want You Around. Lawford knew some dope directors, one of which is his cousin, Allison A. Wade. Shout out to you, Allison. She's an incredible up-and-coming director. So he sends her these two songs. She pitched the idea to us about doing a video about a character named Sirens. Sirens, in some origins, is a half bird, half person. But in our case, it's a mermaid or a merman. I'm the merman. And the way she described the Sirens as being this majestical creature that's irresistible, that is singing, and the singing lures people in to their death. They sacrifice themselves, which sounds kind of dark, but metaphorically speaking, Sirens is captivating. and that's what she described me as, which I was, super flattered to have that, use that comparison for myself, because I do feel like my music and my vocals are alluring. But for her to come up with that and pitch us to us as a music video, I thought it was genius. So instead of just using that concept as a video, I wanted to use the concept and name the EP Sirens, because at that time I had no name for the EP. So I told Mental Kryptonite, hey, we are gonna name this EP Sirens. I was like, we need one more song, at least one more song, and I had written the title track, which is Sirens. I had it written as another song. It was called Ocean Waves, which is pretty fitting because Sirens is in the water. Sirens is a merman, is a mermaid. So I had to tweak the song a bit. I made a second verse. I altered the progression that I had previously had, and I sent it over to Law, and Law took his time to really take the demo that I had. I wouldn't even call it a demo. The sounds that I had, he really made it come to life. There we have 3 songs: Siren, Want You Around, Magic. But we wrote them in the opposite order. Magic, Want You Around, Sirens. We used this classic keyboard called the Roland XP80. A lot of hits were made from it. A lot of movie soundtracks scoring was made from this keyboard, and this is a keyboard that he had let me borrow. So um, it was great using that specific keyboard to come up with all of these songs. Um, so shout out to Allison A. Waite for just pitching that idea to us. Like, we really took it and ran with it, and that's how we came up with the baby Sirens. So someone the other day described the album to me as meditative sex music. I don't think it's anything further from that. The album is sensual, it's sexy, it's tasteful, um, it is conceptual, but I think we did a good job by bridging fantasy and making it reality, and that shows very much in the music video. Want you around. Yeah, it breaks down the concept of sirens. I enjoy telling a story about the music video "Want You Around" for a few different reasons, but I always kind of like chuckle about it as well. Because leading up to the video shoot, we had to get our props in order, wardrobe, and Allison was very good at putting it all together. And it honestly kind of made me nervous. Um, I don't think I realized that I was, or not necessarily realized, but it didn't really click to me that I was going to be playing a merman in the water. So I go to Allison's house. She has me try on this ridiculous um, merman outfit with the fin attachment, and she throws over the fin this sequin, shiny golden fabric that she says she wants to get tailored to it, and she orders for me these all black contact lenses. Yes, they were prescription, um, but they fit my whole eye. Um, so I knew that was going to be an uncomfortable aspect for shooting. We also were supposed to put in some false teeth, some false fangs, which didn't make it to the video. And then I had some specific jewelry, some of which I always wear my daily jewelry, but then we had some jewelry specifically for the video to make the character come to life. And I remember being in her apartment trying on these things, and I'm asking questions, and I'm a bit nervous. I'm a bit apprehensive. And I remember her stopping and looking at me and going, well, what do you have in mind for this character? And and I kind of had to step back because the way she said it, I could tell she was just like, "You're doing the most," or at least that's how I felt, and I was doing the most. So I had to check myself and get excited all over again, just because I was nervous as to how it will turn out, how it will be portrayed, because um, playing Sirens, the whole concept of it all is out the box. So I got excited all over again. So the day of the shoot, we're supposed to shoot at Palos Verdes Beach. It's a beautiful sandless beach. However, we shot in December of 2021, so it was brick cold. Okay, cold, cold, cold. Um, and it was mid tide season, so the tides they weren't high, but they still were strong. So we had one day to shoot. My money was gonna go as far as one day to shoot. Okay, and we had to hike down to the beach, which was about a half a mile, so 15 minutes. Mind you, we have a crew of people, about 10, maybe 12, 13 people, um, and each one of us has equipment, be it camera equipment, which consists of the camera itself, different lenses, stands, tripods, the whole nine. I was lugging down lunch for the day and my own clothing and some other things that I needed to shoot. Um, but first thing in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, we're getting to it. So this was another mind-opening moment for me. We get in the water around 6:45. I should say Allison gets in the water first, and we're scouting out areas, and she gets in the water, and she looks at me and she's like, "All right, Jamal, put on your wet pants and come in the water." And I'm like, "We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to like group ourselves or brief ourselves for the water." But I guess the walk down was briefing enough that, look, this is going to be a real type of shooting day. It's going to be work. So I get in the water. Of course, it's freezing. Of course, the water is a little active, so it's moving. It's moving me this way. It's moving her that way. It's moving the team. It's just moving all of us on top of us being brick cold, freezing cold. Um, so shooting was tough. I think I played a good job at like holding character and really acting out the character, serving face, as some may say. I really had to channel my America's Next Top Model. Tyra Banks had them people doing crazy photo shoots and expecting them to turn out beautiful. And I think video wise, I think it turned out amazing. But it had to be a mind over matter thing for me, because the water, again, I just had to keep saying the water was so cold. So cold. The Atlantic Ocean is no joke. So I'm shivering. My body is literally shivering. So I'm fighting back shivers, to get the shot. And then again, I have these big contact lenses. They are prescription, but the one on my right kept on shifting, so I couldn't see properly. Therefore, my equilibrium was thrown off. So between shivering and not having a proper equilibrium, I really somehow mustered the effort to make it all work, but it wasn't easy. Lastly, I I pulled my wrist, and it's still not the same. Even a year later, it's still not the same. One of the ways I was positioned in one of the shots, I was holding myself up, and the waves, I can hear the waves when it was coming. So I had to hold strong in order for me to stay in character, and play it off. But the wave came and knocked me this way, and I stayed, but using that muscle, I strained myself. I pulled my wrist, and then I somehow pulled my back. And I remember the next day waking up in pain. Ooh, Jesus Christ! Like I broke myself. I broke myself for this shoot, like physically broke myself. You know, I'm not the only one that got injured, and also one of the lenses got cracked on the way out. We so many things happened, but I think it was all in good nature, all in good doing, all in good faith of coming up, um, visualizing the concept, and therefore visualizing Sirens, the EP, Sirens, the character, Sirens, the being, Sirens, Jamal, the singer, um, making fantasy a reality, which is such a beautiful thing that we could do. I'm glad that Allison has that track of mind where she wants to make fantasy a reality because I'm all about abstract vision, and especially a person of color. Um, Feeling like I can be limitless, and having a team that feels like we can all be limitless. So shout out to you, Allison A. Wade, Chao Chen, who's an amazing director of photography, amazing cinematographer. Um, yeah, the whole team was a great team. It was a great team. So definitely would do it all over again. All things considered, even with the aches and pains and the what ifs and um, the money it cost. It was all worth it. It was all worth it in the name of art, in the name of creativity. So yeah, I'm proud of what we did. What we did. I'm really proud of what we did. It was solid. It was cool. Yeah. So right now I'm currently working on a few different projects. So clearly I just released Sirens, the EP, at the end of October. And now I'm working towards making a live video version of it. Let's see if it comes to fruition. But I think how I intend to execute it, I think it's going to be great. And then it'll give you a chance to hear my vocals in a live setting and not in the studio setting. So we're going to get some variation with that. Also, outside of music, I am very much involved, interested in the culinary field. So I am working on my own bottled tea, which is oolong lime iced tea. So that should be coming very soon. And lastly, I'm working on my own cooking show. My One of my ultimate goals is to be a television food TV host. Um, and I want my own cooking show as well. And I actually started one a few years ago and never finished it. So the next few months is about finishing um, these projects that I also have interest in. Food, I love food. I'm a big foodie. So look out for my food show. Look out for my bottled tea, and look out for some live content under this album, Sirens. My name is Jamal Lamont. That is JamalLamont. Again, that is JamalLamont. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube. Instagram is at Jamal Lamont. YouTube is youtube.com/Jamal Lamont. You can also find my music on any music platform, music streaming platform that is Apple, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, Shazam, Napster if you got Napster. Again, all of them under the name Jamal Lamont. Um, I'm everywhere. Google me, Jamal Lamont. You'll find me. Um, Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure answering these questions. Um, it's great to go down, memory lane, even though the memory is not so far back. But it's good to talk about my album and my music in detail in this fashion. So I definitely don't take this lightly, and I definitely thank you all for your time, for listening and watching, and even taking the extra mile to go seek out, the other things I have. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for having me, and Have a blessed year.